Today, boys and girls, please take out Chapter 6. Beloved Catman is consumed by a cow, and get ready for your character, setting, problem, and solution. Today, Goony Bird said on Wednesday, I'm going to tell you about Catman and the cow. Maybe you've noticed that I'm wearing my cat and cow outfit today. The students nodded their heads. They had noticed Goony Bird was wearing an orange fur jacket, and over his shoulders was a slung-up purse made from brown and white cowhide. Sometimes storytellers have special outfits that they wear. I think that's fine as long as it doesn't interfere with the story, Goony Bird continued. You could buy a fake cat whiskers and ears, for example, but I would never wear such a distracting costume. Would you wear a tail? Beanie asked. I know somebody who had a cat tail and ears on Halloween. Put your thinking caps on, class, Goony Bird said. Think about when I talked about Catman last week. No tail, the entire class said, all except for Felicia Ann, although she looked up from the floor. That's right, Catman has no tail. I would tell about the lawnmower accident, and it would be an absolutely true story, but I never use violence in my stories. But, oh good, Kiko said. Violence makes me cry. Goony Bird smoothed her fur jacket and did a breathing exercise. Deep breathe in, let it out. Deep breath in, let it out. I know a lot of you have been worried about Catman, she began. I certainly have, Miss Pigeon said. I've been thinking about Catman ever since he flew out of the flying carpet. By the way, Miss Pigeon, Goony Bird said, I do want to mention how lovely you look today. Mrs. Pigeon blushed a little. She was wearing her high-heeled shoes with buckles. And today she also was wearing a rhinestone butterfly perched in her hair. In fact, the whole class looks lovely, Goony Bird pointed out. She looked around. Malcolm, would you please stand up? Malcolm rose from his seat and held his shoulders back. He was still wearing his polka dot bow tie, and today he had added a plaid belt. Kiko, Goony Bird said. Kiko giggled and stood up. She had a bright green bow in her hair and a long, shiny silk scarf wrapped around her neck. Me, called Chelsea, can I stand up? She did, and the entire class could see that she was wearing a fringe cowboy vest over her best dress. Me too, everyone said, Alex, but Felicia Ann, who was calling out now, but Goony Bird said later, after the story. I'm ready to begin now. She took in one more deep breath and let it out and began. Beloved Catman is consumed by a cow. Once upon a time not long ago, after she left China, Goony Bird and Catman found themselves flying in the air on a carpet. The carpet landed in the meadow near the large brown and white cow who was contentedly eating the wildflowers. The flowers were purple loosestrife. The carpet unrolled, and Goony Bird stood up and looked around. She could see it in the distance, her father's car quickly disappearing down the road. Beside her, Catman also stood up. He had become very furry and fat, the way that cats do when they're frightened. My cat becomes very enlarged when my brother brings his dog to visit, Mrs. Pigeon said. Then she put her hands in her mouth. Oh, I'm sorry, Goony Bird. I interrupted. That's all right, Goony Bird replied. Maybe this is a good time for everyone to tell cats getting big suddenly stories. Many children did. Barry Tuckerman's grandmother's cat became huge, and his tail stood straight out in the air when a groundhog appeared in the yard. Chelsea's cat became enormously fluffy and hissed and spat when the veterinarian gave her a shot. Tricia told how her cat became very fat, and then one day hid 7 kittens inside the laundry basket. Good! So, you all understand about cats. Now, I'll continue, Goony Bird announced. The cow, who had some purple blossom dangling from his mouth, looked very surprised when a person and a cat and a carpet all landed in the meadow. She thought about what to do and decided that moving to a different corner of the meadow would be the best choice. Carefully moving slowly in a cow-like fashion, she strolled her way toward the corner where yellow cosmos and daisies were in bloom. Goony Bird's attention was on the car, which had now disappeared around the bend of the road. She was a little worried about the disappearance about the car. Catman didn't care about the car. Catman had never liked the car at all. In fact, Catman had hated the car, and he was glad they had disappeared. But he was very interested in the cow. Catman had never seen a cow before. Now he watched with fascination as the cow moved slowly toward the other corner of the meadow. He liked the way the cow walked heavily with determination, and he liked the way the cow smelled of thick, sun-warmed cowhide and meadow flowers. And As he scampered along behind the cow noticed it mooed. Catman liked the way that the cow sounded. It was comforting, the low, throaty sound with a moo, and in the background was a buzzing of flies. Catman began to purr. In the distance he could hear Gooney-Bird calling, "Catman! Catman!" But he didn't care. He found himself falling in love with the cow. "I like romance," Beanie said. "Me too," Kiko said with a sigh. Gooney-Bird waited for a moment, but no one else said anything, so she continued the story. In the evening, the farmer, there's a name, Mr. Henry Grindoften, came out of the meadow and called the cow. It was time to take her to the barn to be milked. The cow liked the farmer, who was soft-spoken and kind, and she liked the barn, which was airy and dark and smelled of hay, and she liked being milked, which felt like sneezing, something that needed to be done now and then. So she carefully followed the farmer when he called her. Catman cheerfully followed the car. Another name. Mrs. Clara Schnidhoffen, the farmer's wife, was feeding the chickens when her husband walked past the leading cow. Don't forget the cow could be a character too, boys and girls. "My word," she said. "Look, there's a cat with no tail following the cow. So there is," said her husband. "Perhaps he's hungry. We should feed him." They tried to take Catman into the house to be fed, but she refused and didn't want to leave the cow. So they brought him a bowl of tuna fish and gave it to him in the barn. When Mr. Schnidhoffen milked the cow, he squirted some into the dish for Catman. That night Catman, who was by now completely and hopelessly in love, curled up beside the cow and slept. He had slept there ever since during the day he gotten into the meadow with the cow, and while the cow ate wildflowers, Catman chased field mice, butterflies, and listened to the buzzing flies and smells of the warm and pleasant odor of the cowhide. Gooney-Bird paused. "Question?" she said. Kiko raised her hand. "I was waiting to hear the bad part. I was going to cover my ears." "What bad part?" Gooney-Bird asked. Boys and girls, we're going to stop right there. I would like to make sure today you have filled in the characters and the setting. Where are they right now when she's telling the story of Catman that's consumed by a cow? Now I'd like you to think of the word consumed. Consumed could mean a couple things. Consumed, do you think she is, what do you think consumed mean so far? And we will go over it today in class. Please hit the stop button and please make sure you have characters and the setting filled out now.